You should friggin' talk.
I
Your
know. You
nose is
see,
friggin' bigger than mine, and it looks like it got ran over by a tractor friggin' trailer. So you have no room to talk with your bald ass fucking head and your crooked ass fucking nose. Okay, so I don't want to hear goddamn one other word about it out of your mouth. Okay,
you want to go out for pizza?
fuck you.
Well,
You,
this
you, you and your cheap ass Canada pizza.
this episode got kicked off with a bang.
So welcome everybody to the hopefully the 15 people that watched the other one will see this too, because puppy.
Ripley.
Yeah, Ripley. Her and her brutality. So Super Bowl 2025, Super Bowl 59, Super Bowl XX 59, whatever.
Roman numerals.
Yes. What did you think? First impressions, first thoughts.
I couldn't believe it. Like, it was, I didn't expect the dismantling like that. I mean, it was 37-6 at one point in that game. No one expected that. No one. And I saw, Eagles, scored. Okay, 7-0. All right, Chiefs get the ball. All right, here comes the Chiefs, right? And then no. I'm like, oh, okay. Then Eagles get a field goal. Oh, okay. Then Patrick Mahomes throw a pick six. I'm like, I don't think this is. I don't think that. I don't
It's
think
not going to go the way we think.
I don't think the Chiefs are gonna really. I think they bit off more than they can chew. And then it got out of hand fast. I mean, halftime was 24-0. I mean, that's three. I mean, that's three possessions with 3 2-point conversions. So it could have very easily been a 4-possession game if you didn't convert on any of them.
Yeah.
And it was like, you felt it, right? And you kind of felt like, all right, the Chiefs are not out of it because, the Chiefs, right? I mean, you can't count them out. I mean, barring a miracle, and that miracle didn't happen. When they marched down and they finally did score, it's like, okay, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah.
Here we go. And then, again, the Eagles get the ball and they just did the kill shot. It's like a 50-yard TD to Devontae Smith. I'm like, okay, he's dead. He's dead already. Leave him alone.
Like, you guys want to see a dead body?
And it was just, the Chiefs worried too much about stopping Saquon.
And they left everybody else open or free.
Well, like, they were so worried and gung ho on stopping Saquon in the run, and they did that, pretty successful because he had, I think maybe less than 60 something yards rushing. But they didn't account for Jalen Hurts because he had 72 yards rushing. He didn't stop the pass. Because you can't stop both, right? I mean, you try to stop their main focus, which was feed Saquon, and they did that very successfully. But you have all these weapons. Okay, you stop Saquon. Okay, I got AJ Brown. I got Devontae Smith. I'm Jalen Hurts. I got, Jahad Dotson, Dallas Goddard. Apparently it was like, okay, pick your poison. And it was the Chiefs, they were probably one of the better teams for second half adjustments. I mean, a lot of their wins came back when they were behind by 10 points or 2 possessions, and they came back, made really good adjustments. This time, it's like they came out and they did nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're like, nope, we're going to still stop Saquon and struggle passing the ball. Patrick Mahomes tried to stay upright. And talking about Patrick Mahomes getting the shit kicked out of him.
Dude, yeah, what was it, six sacks and like
sacks. And they didn't blitz at all. This
Yeah.
for the 4-man front. So in the Chiefs, they had the blitz to get pressure on Hurts.
And it didn't hurt.
The Eagles never blitzed. Never. And
Yeah,
Mahomes looked average. And I'm giving that as a compliment. Average. You know,
yeah, they did not look like they belonged there.
no, not even close. Like if Buffalo would have beat the Chiefs, I think it would have been a lot closer game.
And it
I
was like, go ahead.
I think it would just been a lot closer game. I still think the Eagles would have pulled out the victory, but I think it would have been like a 38-35 type deal. You know, that was my thought on that. Because the final score being 40-22. No. That
Yeah,
final score should have been 40-6.
yeah, it was not as if you didn't watch the game and you just looked at the score and be like, oh, that was fairly close.
No.
No, it was not as close as the numbers looked, and or at least the score looked.
No.
I don't. I
The
don't think
Eagles,
anybody is shocked that Philadelphia won because it was one of those games where it kind of could have went either way. I think
it was
you
the
know. I know.
fashion they won in.
Yeah, the fact that it was such a blowout for 3 quarters of the game was wild. And those last, especially that last touchdown, they gave them that.
They did. And that was against the Eagles second string.
It was like
Like
somebody pointed,
they pulled their second strings with like 5 minutes left in the game. And then
and,
it took the Eagles second string to allow the Chiefs to score. Like
and somebody said, and I didn't notice it at the time, but somebody said they noticed like on that touchdown that the back was like whatever, like it was like with a minute and something left, and like we already got this in the bag.
mm-hmm.
We'll let you have it. You know what I mean?
You're padding the stats at that point on the losing end, right? I mean, see, if I was the Chiefs, I would have pulled Mahomes too. Like you're like you know you have no chance of coming back. I'm not saying you're giving up, but it's like why are you going out there risking to hurt yourself now when the game you have nothing to play for? Like there's no sense of pride. Like you can't go like we scored guys and then you got some asshole like yeah, it was against their second string.
Yeah, I mean at the same. If it was week 9, yeah, I'd be with you on that. But this is the Super Bowl, and just like I would say to the refs, you're like, let them freaking play. Don't be throwing needless penalties like at the beginning of the game.
No, that's what I
Um,
wanted to get to. Like that offensive pass interference on the 4th and 3. And it was a bogus call. And that's when I first thought I go, here we go. Here we go. Right. And that's immediately like, here we go. And then when Mahomes got drilled by Carter, and it should have been unnecessary roughness because his hands were right up in his face mask, and people were like, where's the flag on that? I go, nope, those two just canceled out. Like it's even now.
yeah,
You got a bullshit call, and the Eagles got a no call. Even slate. It's a clean slate now.
yeah.
Because Mahomes got rocked.
Oh, he was all game. He was getting bam, bam, bam.
No, now mind you, this is what I can say too. If you remember the Super Bowl against the Bucks, Mahomes was running for his life in that, and they didn't blitz either. That was 4-man pressure with a good rotation. In that game, and Mahomes was running for his life. He looked human, and he was only able to muster up 9 points. So, I saw a crazy stat. It was like in the Super Bowl losses that Mahomes played, he's only scored 31 points in 2 games. Like it was in the differential is like negative 40 because the
See,
Bucks won 31-9 and the Chiefs, and the Eagles beat them 40-22. And it's like, so that was, Mahomes does not like pressure. Like any other quarterback doesn't like, but
yeah, like who does? It's not like you're Ben Roethlisberger, friggin' like who's like 6'2" and 300 some pounds, who could shake off a lineman if you wanted to.
no,
No, like
Mahomes is 6'2", like 220. Like he's not a big guy,
no. And
right?
to be fair, most quarterbacks are not huge guys. Brady wasn't a huge guy. Ben
No,
Roethlisberger, Elway, kind of, even Peyton to a degree. They're bigger
Hey,
guys.
Peyton was like 6'5", 6'6", and like 220, 225. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like you want to like Roethlisberger's like 6'6" and like 240. Like
He was
he was a
stocky.
he was a big guy, right?
Yeah.
Just like Josh Allen, 6'5", 235, big guy.
They could shake off a hit if they needed to. But
Mahomes, he got rattled. Um, and he didn't look like Mahomes at all. Like I'll give it to him. He's a good quarterback, and maybe the refs were favored, giving him favorable flags throughout the season. But the Super Bowl, I think, was called relatively decent as far as an officiating standpoint.
yeah, and this is I'm not a conspiracy theory person. So like all season, I was like, whenever somebody brought up the flag, the refs on their side, I was like, maybe I don't know, you know. Um, but if there was some kind of favoritism being played by their umpires, their referees, this was a whole new set of refs. Um, these are Super Bowl refs, the best of what should be the best of the best,
Yep.
and now you see a performance like this, and they made mistakes, like that one where, like, oh, they called the offsides on Philadelphia and it was Kansas City that jumped, and they're like, oh, not in the neutral zone, whatever. That was kind of
Yeah.
like bogus, but obviously there were the refs were there to ref the Super Bowl, not ref a Kansas City game. So in that
And I do
regard, I'm like, I could kind of see it. It's like, okay, now you don't have them on your side.
no, and then it's um, and it's finally like I know people are joking like the dot, it's the rain is over, right? The rain is over, and I'm not going to count the Chiefs out. They're always going to be a threat. Um, they're only going to get better, right? I mean, supposedly every team is supposed to get better. Um, I don't know the status of their free agents as far as who they're losing. Oh, I got to stop the fire up real quick. Anything of that nature. Um, but I could say probably, they should rebound fairly quickly and at least make another run into deep into the playoffs again. Right? We can safe to say they were the team with one of the best records, if not the best record, at 15-2. Call it 15-2. Well, they really 15-2. Sorry, I'll knock my phone over, but I caught it. That dog sleeping in your arms?
Yes.
Yes. Just a yes. Yeah, we're supposed to get more snow freaking next like 3 days.
You have fun with that. You enjoy it.
Well, is your state still burning?
Well, LA is burning, but it's always burning.
So, I'd rather have snow than my city on fire. Oh, side note, good call on Philadelphia destroying their city.
They
Win or
you
lose.
could count on. One thing you could count on, win or lose, Philly fans fucking up Philadelphia.
Regardless, win or lose, like we won. Destroy the city. Cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. We lost. Destroy the city. Cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. It's like,
Yep.
I'm really trying to understand the celebration of Eagles fans. Like, I'm really trying to get behind it. And you guys lost me.
You know what? At this point, and again, I think I said it last week, I love Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Beautiful city, great people. I have friends from Philly and the surrounding areas, both Jersey side of the river and outskirts of Philly. Friggin', I would drink in Philadelphia all day. But if
Would you
they
drink in
didn't,
Philadelphia with a Giants jersey on?
oh fuck yeah, fuck them.
Okay.
I did it in Dallas. I'll do it in Philly. I don't care. Um, if they didn't act the way they did, I'd be concerned.
And we're back.
I don't know if you heard me, but like if they didn't go crazy, I'd be concerned. You know what I mean?
No, but it's just like the city can't make up its mind. It's like it's the only city that I know that destroys itself, win or lose.
They're consistent. They like to party.
I mean, hey, but congrats to Saquon, congrats to the Eagles. The Eagles were the best team in the NFL, right? I mean, they proved it.
Yeah.
Now next year, if they're able to maintain that, is going to be the next question. Because they are losing their offensive coordinator. He's becoming the new coach for the Saints. Best of luck to him.
Yeah. And Saints need something. So
it's going to be interesting if they're able to maintain, right? They're going to be a run-first team. I think having a full season on the Eagles offense that's run first will definitely be to the other team's advantages. Obviously, like, okay, they run this kind of, through the B gap, through the A gap. They're able to study a lot more film based on defensive fronts, where they're going to run the ball. Because let's face it, this is the first year Kellen Moore offense, and you can't really, I don't think you can really prepare for a team when you only got a few weeks of film, because they're still just scraping the surface of their offensive playbook within the first few weeks. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Are the Chiefs going to make it back to the playoffs? Are they not? Are the Eagles? Now all the pressure's on Philly.
yeah, you know what? I definitely see them both making the playoffs again, right? Like I could never imagine the reigning Super Bowl champions not making it to the playoffs at the very least. And again, I would, if I were Philly, I wouldn't necessarily change a thing. You know what I mean? Maybe add a few more different plays that nobody's seen yet. But with Kansas City, just as a football fan, I have concerns and questions. Is Kelsey coming back? Like you said before, they're free agents. Who's coming back? Who's leaving? Who are they going to add? What kind of adjustments are they going to make? Because not only did they get blown out in the Super Bowl, but they were struggling all season, basically. They weren't the dominant Kansas City Chiefs. They were squeaking by all season. So
I know one thing they're going to have to get fixed is that O-line. You can't. Patrick Mahomes wasn't sacked a whole lot throughout the season, and then you just get decimated in the Super Bowl and allow the most sacks. He's never got sacked more than 6 times, and he got sacked 6 times.
Yeah.
So it's like that should raise an eyebrow. At least, like, okay, like, are these guys just bigger than us, and is our offensive line really? Like, I don't care. You should have depth on the offensive line. You should have really good talent on the offensive line. You should give your quarterback that time they need to make the play. And we saw it. Mahomes did not look comfortable.
No. And, a great offensive line can't fix a mediocre quarterback. We've seen that with Daniel Jones. But a bad offensive line, a good quarterback, a great quarterback, and I'll give Mahomes the credit. He's a very, very good quarterback. He can still make things happen. But now you give him a great offensive line. It's like
you take the pressure off of him instead of it's on him at all times, right? And that's any quarterback behind a really good offensive line.
Yeah,
because if you only get like a second to try to throw the ball, no route is going to develop unless you're like running a slant. and you can't just run slants all day.
No, because then people are gonna friggin' pick that up, and it's like Brady, as great as Brady is or was, if he didn't have some semblance of a very good offensive line, he'd be running for his life all the time.
That's one thing, and that's one thing the Patriots did while he was there for the 19 years. They made sure they took care of him by having a good offensive line. I wouldn't say it was great. I would say it was good, and it was consistent. Like
Yeah,
Brady got sacked, yes. Quarterback's going to get sacked. It's going to happen. Someone's going to
yeah,
lose their footing. You're going to misread the play. And it's going to happen. Shit's going to happen. But for 20 years that he was on that Patriots team, they made sure they took care of him. For 20 years, Brady wasn't running around for his life throughout his career. Now, during certain games, yes, but not his entire career wasn't running around his life.
yeah, and
Mahomes, you saw it against the Buffalo, where the first meeting in the regular season where he was running around a little bit because they were getting the pressure. And that's what you got to do. You got to pressure Mahomes. You got to get it up the middle. You got to contain the edges to force them up. Where are you guys going? Why you got pretty lights? Mobile Command Center just drove by me, flashing lights.
what did you do, Joe?
Super Bowl's over. Congrats to Philly. Now us as Giants fans get to finally kind of, reset and cry over who they're going to pick up in free agency in the draft. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. See how much better or worse we're gonna be next season.
well, I mean, I don't think you get much worse.
I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way. I really wouldn't.
The Giants, are a proud organization. And they always will be. I think every franchise got to go through its ups and downs. Some teams more than others. And
Now the Browns have been going through their downs for 50 years, so
I think the Giants are start getting the right pieces. They just need a few more, and then let's hope. But that's another podcast to talk about free agency.
yeah,
That.
we could cover that like after the draft and stuff like that. Start getting ready for the season for 2025 into 26. So,
Yeah,
but
free agency is coming up in March, so that'll be a good one to see where the Giants are going to splurge and hopefully get pieces in there to make the team better. It's all good on paper. Then it's just applying it is where
paper
they
doesn't play.
No. So, well,
But
I proposed a question to you earlier.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it. I was going to say the same thing. What was it? The top 5 most influential wrestling matches?
Yeah, I think kind of paved the way.
All right. Since you proposed a question, why don't you go first?
You want me to go first? I'll go first.
You brought up the question, and you're the guest. So,
well, thank you for having me in your home. First and foremost, I smell the coffee. So my number 5 match would have to be the Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon ladder match for the Intercontinental title. It might not have had all the high flying stuff that we've seen recently, but then again, ladder matches were relatively new. Razor Ramon wasn't exactly a small guy. You can't have a 6'6" guy jump off the top of the ladder for a spot. But Shawn Michaels did jump off and do like a splash, and I believe an elbow drop off the ladder. But I think that match paved the way for what we had during the Attitude Era with the Hardys. Their infamous ladder matches, TLC matches. And I think it influenced also, maybe not the concept of the Money in the Bank, but how the ladders are used. It just really, it opened up the horizon
And you froze again on me, Joe.
for, oh, did you hear any of that?
Last thing I heard was brought in the horizons and so
So
away from TLC.
that match opened up the horizons for all the ladder matches. I mean, for the concept of, may not be for the concept of Money in the Bank, the whole kind of getting the briefcase, but it opened up the, what else can we do with a ladder match?
Yeah.
What else can we hang up there? What else can it, So I think that really kicked off the ladder match era.
Yeah, I had that on my list. My list is in no particular order, but I had that on my my list as well. Just because it was like that may have been the match of that WrestleMania, and I have my other. I'll go with my other WrestleMania match that I have on my list. Macho Man versus Steamboat for the IC title. That again was anybody that I think knows anything. You ask them about that match, they will agree. That was the match of that WrestleMania. That was both two super talented guys, friggin' perfectionists, super talented, and they stole the show. And it goes to show you two guys could, and I said it before in another episode that we did. It was like the Ric Flair Steamboat match. Perfection. You know what I mean? That one's not on my list necessarily because I think you wanted to do WWE only. But just fucking beautiful, beautiful IC match.
No, yeah, and I agree. I think that's one of the matches that they say is one of the greatest matches of all time. I think they compared the Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus match, or Gunther versus, I think it was Gunther versus Sheamus at Clash of the Castle a few years ago for the IC title, and how that match stole the show. This is how physical it was, how good, just two talented people in the ring. My next match, I want to go a little more recent. I want to go in the early Attitude Era. Would have to be the Tornado Tag ladder match. I believe it was at the Royal Rumble, Hardys versus Dudleys.
Yeah, that was the it wasn't even TLC yet. It was just a ladder tornado.
No, but it was the first Tornado Tag ladder match. And I think that really set the stage, which obviously on my number on the list still is going to be a TLC match because it's ever evolving. And no one's seen the moves that the Hardys were doing, let alone off the top rope, but then off the top of the ladder.
And the best pairing they could have did was with the Dudleys.
I agree. And the Dudleys brought in the tables. I mean, it wasn't a table match, but they introduced tables and going through tables off the ladders. And it's like, that really, again, opened up what else, what can we do? No fan has ever seen anything like that. This is, like the Hardys were like the WWS version of like cruiserweights, and there was only two of them.
Yeah.
Flying around.
Yeah, and to go off that, another match I have on my list, TLC 2000.
That was mine. The first TLC match.
Dudleys with the tables, Hardys with the ladders, Edge and Christian with the chairs. Oh my. It was just Was it a beautiful match like Macho Man Steamboat? No. But that's where the beauty was. It was spot after spot after spot. What the fuck are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? Oh my God. You know,
Right.
like it was just one thing after another after another. And it was like, fuck, dude. And, you know, the Dudleys brought everything they knew and everything they did from ECW. The Hardys just doing their thing, just go do it. And then Edge and Christian just playing along with it and saying, okay, the bar's up here. We got to meet that. And, you know,
All three
it was,
teams were very successful in those matches. That was my next on the list was the first TLC match. So I won't go into TLC 2, the one that happened at WrestleMania 17. That was by far the best TLC match of all time.
but we
Again, like
wouldn't
you
have
said,
that if
spot
it
after
wasn't for.
spot after spot. No,
And
I don't think you
for
would
me,
have
it
that
was
if you
like,
never had a ladder match, period.
yeah. So
My
you got
next
another?
match, oh, of course. I'm going to go Cactus Jack versus Triple H street fight. The first one.
Yeah,
The first one.
I was
Sorry.
waiting. I was waiting for you to.
The first one, like when no one in WWF, they knew Mankind, they knew Mick Foley. Not very many people were very familiar with Dude Love yet or Cactus Jack, and then you had that real awesome promo where Mick interviewed himself or JR did or something. And he brought out, first it was Mankind, then you got Dude Love, and then Triple H is in the ring, I believe. And he said, "Here comes Cactus Jack," and there comes Cactus walking out down the aisle. Right? It was just so. And then they had that infamous street fight. I think that paved the way for a lot of the hardcore stuff because Triple H wasn't known for hardcore. Mick was.
Yeah. Anybody that was old enough to know about wrestling knew who Cactus Jack was.
Old school. You talking out.
Yeah.
But the fans today, they didn't they saw there was mixed, right? I mean, you had the hardcore fans when he said Cactus Jack, that you had the pop, but there was who's Cactus Jack? That's the hardcore living legend. That was, the guy who could take thrives on pain, laughs at it, and just kind of, that was obviously the character. But I think that paved the way for a lot of the hardcore matches that we've seen. Just with how because they pushed each other, right? I mean, Triple H was more of the physical as far as physique wise, but Mick Foley pushed him because you want to be, you want to be in a hardcore match. This is what hardcore is all about. You're gonna take bumps on the steel stage. You're gonna, on the cement. I don't think Triple H is taking a bump on cement until he wrestled Mick Foley.
But speaking of Mick Foley, the first one that popped into my mind that I wrote on the friggin' sheet of paper was Hell in a Cell 2. Taker Mankind.
That was my number one.
Most of the time, I would say I'm going with the first time a match has happened. But I got to put this above Shawn versus Taker. Just because it was he just threw him off the fucking cell.
Right, and that
and
match.
Then he got up and he ran back into the ring and he put him through the fucking cell.
Which wasn't a spot. They didn't know what was. That wasn't meant. There was like they were talking. I literally just watched something last week where Undertaker and Mick Foley rewatched that match together in its entirety, and they're talking about Mick Foley wanted to suplex Undertaker, and Undertaker shut that down on top of the cell. And they're thinking like it was a great thing that he didn't get a whole lot of elevation on Mick Foley for that choke slam, because if he would have been any more elevated, he may not be here today.
Yeah. And if you go back and watch, the chain link was buckling.
Yeah, the things
Under
were
that.
popping off. They were talking about the sound of the things popping. And like that was my first indication, like, should we really be up here? Like,
Yeah, you would be doing this right now.
And they're talking about like Mick Foley singing like, oh, he's gonna have to choke slam me like 3 or 4 times to get through the cell. Nope. Once.
He barely touched it. He went straight through, right on the thumbtacks.
And and for a guy that starts off the match, now that match was great because of the moments.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great wrestling match because there wasn't a whole lot of wrestling, because Mick Foley was knocked 3 shades to the wind just based on bumps.
Yeah.
But it was so iconic because that match. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you were looking for a better wrestling match, Taker versus Shawn was probably better.
Yes.
But if you're looking for the oh my god more influential match, it would be Taker Mick.
Like that match today, like it being almost 30 years ago now, still packs a punch as it did like the first time seeing it. Like I understand, like I know what's coming up, like if I watch the match, but you got a guy that's so damn nearly 300 pounds getting thrown 16 feet off a cell, and the only thing stopping him is the Spanish announce table. And then they're like looking, like Taker's going there, like all I'm doing right now is looking to see if he's moving.
Yeah, Mick, are
Then
you
Mick
alive?
Foley moved. Then he moved. He's
And
like,
now
okay, you can breathe. And then he dislocates his shoulder. Gets, now that was the real thing, like getting carried off in a stretcher. Like they raised the cell. They're like, dude, you're done. He gets off the stretcher and then climbs up the cell. This is a matter of like 10 or 15 minutes, and then gets put through it.
And then he still walks away.
And then walked away. Like it's, Undertaker the whole entire time is like, Mick, it's time to go home. He's like, I just want to get to the tax. And that was another thing. North America's never seen the thumbtacks until that match. Like the thumbtacks is a Cactus Jack thing from when he was doing the Japan wrestling. And he brought the thumbtacks out as Mick Foley, and only the real OGs remember the thumbtacks. Right? And then he gets slammed into it. Not enough thumbtacks. What's Mick Foley do? He rolls into them.
Yeah. And when he went through, he landed perfectly right on those thumbtacks.
And the chair hitting him in the face, busting his tooth through his lip, and it's ending up in his nose. And then, the match was filled with a lot of spots. Granted, one of them wasn't supposed to happen, but they rolled with it. And I think that'll go down as probably the most influential match, because not only for what it did, but also what it provided years to come with, like, okay, like if we're going to wrestle on the top, we can't have them be going through. Like they reinforced it. It evolved the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, they're like, okay.
For safety, right. I mean, ever since then, no one else got put through. If you remember.
Like, thanks to Mick, we're going to reinforce it, put higher grade bolts. We're not going to use zip ties. We're going to follow.
That would be my, those are my most influential matches. Then I'll go with one more, like the Elimination Chamber, because no one's ever seen it. First Elimination Chamber. And I think that came from the mind of Eric Bischoff. Like, if I had to guess, whoever really thought of that, me and how Eric Bischoff is that genius. He's the one who I think he's truly the one who came up with that concept.
Yeah, I was kind of struggling going through all the other great matches, and I was like, you know what? I wrote Elimination Chamber down. But yeah, I think he talked about it. Like he took aspects of Hell in a Cell, War Games, um, regular cage matches, and combined them. And I think I want to say I saw an interview like he had ideas of it years before in like WCW, but it
It probably
wasn't.
just didn't.
It
Probably
either
just
they
wasn't in
didn't.
the cards.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards, or it wasn't what it ended up being in WWE. So it was one of those things. He might have had ideas of it 5 years prior, but then he gets hired by WWE, and he's like, "This is what I'm thinking." He puts the paper down, and they're like, "What if we do this? What if we take it from square to an octagon? What if we add this and that?" And it evolved because he had actual good, smart people around him that were able to put their 2 cents in and make it better, to polish it
Yeah.
up. So,
And at first, the Elimination Chamber packed the punch. Now there were people getting slammed onto those steel grates. Like those are not giving.
no, not at all.
Now they obviously they changed the Elimination Chamber to make it a bit more safer. So still, I
Yeah,
think
like
the
that.
match.
Like they have plexiglass instead of regular glass, and yeah, they increase the space on the top of the cells.
That was the one thing, like with Triple H, and I think it was the first one when RVD went to do the 5-star frog splash. He couldn't stand up, so he didn't
Yeah,
know if he could get the proper angle, and his shin came down across Hunter's throat. Like it was, and shit happens. You guys sign up for it. Triple H wasn't mad about it. It just really sucked because he was talking. He's like, and then every time I recovered, I'd take another bump. He's like, it went straight to my throat. And it's like, it fucking sucked.
So
Um,
one thing I did want to ask you, and was it last night or the night before? Might have been Monday night. I watched caught up on one part of a Chris Van Vliet interview on TikTok, and it made me want to ask. And I don't know if you saw it. It might give it away, but what was your favorite, or did you think was the best WWE debut? Like somebody that was super popular somewhere else, and then finally came to WWE, and it was like friggin' insane.
so we talking about WWE as a whole, like including WWF, like before they got the F out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
My
in general.
My biggest one, Chris Jericho.
That's who he was talking to, and they were
Chris Jericho. I mean, he was gaining steam in WCW. He wanted a payday. They didn't give it to him, and he walked and he proved himself in WWE. And that was probably it was insane. Like I didn't know Chris Jericho was Y2J, right? No, I don't think anyone really did. And then he just came out. He did it while interrupting The Rock. So on top of it, making your debut, you're gonna interview The Rock. You're gonna interrupt The Rock and start an immediate feud.
Yeah, that was probably the best way to have Jericho come out too. Interrupting The Rock, interrupting Stone Cold, and when that timer was counting down, and then all of a sudden it went black, the pyros went off. Break the walls down, and he was talking about how the girl pops up, and then his name flips around on the Titantron. People just go insane, and he was like, the internet was not what it is today,
So that pop was authentic. Like that was authentic. Like you didn't know who it was until you saw the name.
Yeah, he said a lot of people. This was what 99. And so the internet was there, and people, were in wrestling chat rooms and everything like that. So he was like, I saw the signs. There are some people that knew, because most people didn't have the internet at that time. 10 years later, yeah, it's okay. It's all over the place, but we're doing what we're doing right now because of it. But
You had to read wrestling magazines to get at the end. Get the
yeah,
yeah.
you had to stay up to know who Chris Jericho was. And
The one biggest thing, speaking of non-internet, right? I mean, the two biggest stars in WCW in their prime and WWF in their prime was Goldberg and Stone Cold. And I remember the biggest talk was like, we should really make them wrestle each other, right? And who would win? And I remember that was a debate of who would beat who. Now, physical-wise, it would have to be probably be Goldberg because he's just a monster. But I just thought, thinking because I remember having a wrestling magazine and it was like Goldberg and Stone Cold on the front. So sorry, a little side note there.
No, you're good because it's one of those things like what were the two missed dream matches from that time? Goldberg and Austin, Sting and Taker.
Oh yeah.
We already saw Hogan, Flair. Saw it about a dozen times in WCW when they were both already past, Flair's prime. He had more of a prime after his prime than Hogan did. But, Brett, we saw Brett Sting, even though it wasn't as great as it should have been. But those were the two last matches that were like, oh man, if we could fucking see this, and it didn't happen, unfortunately, but.
Such is life.
So I take you got to work.
I just pulled in the parking lot. It was there's a lot of great matches, and it's hard to rank like all the great ones, and that's why I said influential, right? I mean, if I was going great matches, I mean, obviously like Rock versus Stone Cold would have to be on there. Another idea would be rivalries, right? They're the greatest rivalries, and or greatest heels. I think we touched base on that last week, where I think like Triple H and Edge really pushed the limits of how a heel could be, and also Vince McMahon, because after the Montreal Screw job, no one he really legit screwed Brett. Granted,
Yeah.
It might have been best for business, but he's like, you know what? If people are gonna hate me, I'm the heel. I'm the boss. You're supposed to hate the boss. So he ran with it, and it made the character Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, like that again, like you said, running with it. Vince McMahon. What do you think of Vince McMahon as a person, as a guy? He could be. You say, oh, he's a dick, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but he's also extremely intelligent. And
oh yeah, there's a reason why he sat in Gorilla every show.
Yeah,
he made sure his product was what he wanted.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the WWE as it is now, and we probably wouldn't have wrestling as it is now. So,
the funny thing, the Royal Rumble where it came down to Batista and John Cena, and they fucked up, and they both went over the rope. And it wasn't supposed to happen that way. And Vince McMahon came down storming, and people are thinking it's part of the show and all that. It wasn't. He was legit pissed. Like, you guys fucked this up, and he went to go slide in the ring, and he tears both his hamstrings. So now he's sitting there in the ring, can't walk, trying to keep this mean mug and mean persona while they figure out what to do. And they wound up, obviously Batista was supposed to be the winner, and he did finally eliminate, but it was just like a fuck up. They both, like, you asked both of them, like, I've seen interviews on both of them, like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, Vince was legit pissed, and when they both went over, you can see, like, they're both, like, said, like, oh shit. Like, Edge was the third one before he got eliminated, and he's the one who walked by Vince, and Edge is like, oh. Like,
just keep walking. Don't make eye contact.
He's like, thank God it's not me.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. Like, Vince threw off his jacket, like he was pissed. But what are you gonna do? Like, it's Vince. Yeah. You gonna tell him, no, you can't be on the air? Fuck you, it's his show. He'll shut it down. He'll shut it down and keep all the money.
Yeah. He's like, screw all you fans. This is mine. You ain't getting paid shit, guys.
You know, then he tore both his hamstrings, and it's like, dude.
And I could just imagine, like, somebody's in the back, like friggin' Pat Patterson or Joel Rich is like, Vince, don't go out there. Don't go out there. And then he tears his hamstring. They bring him back. See, we told you not to go out there. But yeah, I like to get to work, man. Appreciate
All right,
it.
dude.
Appreciate this. It's been a great 2024, 2025 NFL season. It's always fun talking about it and talking about bringing in other topics. So till next time, we'll think of something. And
I think between our mediocre brains, we'll figure something out.
yeah, between the both of us, we may have a working brain going on.
At least a hamster on a wheel,
Yeah, and the monkey with the cymbals.
Till next time.
Till next time. This one's
enjoy
parting up the storm, so
enjoy Ripley's cake.
I think between Ripley and Bailey, there's enough cake for everybody.
I know you're a Nia Jax fan.
Hey, everybody needs love,
but they gotta pay.
Everybody has a price, and everybody's got to pay.
All right, man. Till next time.
Till next time, bud. Deuces.
Yeah.